If you had to choose between a clean surgery that heals in a few weeks or a slow, painful infection that lasts for 20 years, which would you pick? Most of us would pick the surgery, but when it comes to relationships, many men choose the slow infection. They try to beg a woman to stay, or they try to save a marriage where the respect has already died. They think they are being strong by holding on, but in psychology, holding on to something that is broken is actually a form of self-torture. By the end of this video, you will understand why a clean, sharp breakup is the greatest gift you can give to your future self. We are going to look at why begging for love is like trying to drink water from a mirage in the desert. It only makes you thirstier and leaves you exhausted. If you are ready to choose your dignity over your desperation, stay with me as we break down the truth. Most people live by default. We live by design. If you are the person quietly dismantling old patterns to build a future that actually belongs to you, you've found your circle. We don't do victim here. We do vision. Subscribe to sharpen your awareness. Leave a comment and bring your insight to the table. No noise, no ego. Just the blueprint for a stronger mind. Let's get to work. The first thing we must understand is a psychological pattern called the loss of attraction through desperation. Human attraction works on a very simple rule. We value what is hard to lose, and we take for granted what is too easy to keep. When a woman tells you she wants to leave, or she shows you through her actions that she no longer cares, and your reaction is to beg, cry, or promise to change everything, you are sending a loud message. You are telling her that your value is lower than hers. You are telling her that you do not think you can find anyone better. In her mind, this confirms that she is right to leave. Why would she want to stay with a man who doesn't even value himself enough to stand tall? A clean breakup says, I value our time, but I value my dignity more. This actually keeps your value high in her memory, whereas begging makes you look like an option she can always come back to if her other plans fail. Many men stay in marriages or long relationships where the woman has already checked out emotionally. They think that by begging or doing more chores or giving more money, they can earn back the love. But love is not a paycheck you earn for doing work. Love is a response to respect and attraction. When you beg, you kill the respect, and without respect, attraction cannot breathe. A begged marriage is just a prison where both people are unhappy. One person feels guilty and the other feels like a victim. It is better to have a clean breakup that allows you to heal and find someone who chooses you naturally without being asked. Let's look at the story of a man named Kevin. Kevin was married to a woman named Lisa for 8 years. Lisa started spending more time away from home and stopped being kind to Kevin. One day, Lisa told him she didn't love him anymore. Kevin panicked. He got on his knees. He promised to take her on more trips. He promised to buy her a new car. He begged her to stay for the kids. Lisa stayed, but she treated Kevin like a stranger in his own house. She would go out until 2 a.m. and tell Kevin it was none of his business. The negative outcome for Kevin was the death of the soul. Because Kevin begged Lisa to stay, Lisa lost every bit of respect for him. She saw him as a weak man she could step on. Kevin spent 3 more years in that begged marriage, feeling like a ghost. He was constantly anxious, checking her phone and trying to please her, but she only grew more disgusted by him. Eventually, she left anyway, but by then, Kevin had lost his confidence, his money, and his health. He learned that by trying to save the marriage through begging, he actually just paid a very high price to be miserable for 3 more years. Have you ever felt like you were auditioning for your own partner? Like you had to be perfect just so they wouldn't leave you? This is a very common trap. Share your story in the comments. Why do we think that more effort can fix a heart that has already moved on? The second psychological reason a clean breakup is better is the power of the reset. When a relationship ends cleanly, your brain can start the grief process. Grief is like a tunnel. It is dark and it hurts, but it leads to an exit. When you beg and stay in a broken situation, you are standing still inside the dark tunnel. You never reach the exit. A clean breakup allows the toxic chemicals in your brain to wash away so you can see clearly again. It gives you the space to ask yourself, who am I without this person? This is where growth happens. In a begged marriage, you never get to ask that question because you were too busy trying to keep the other person happy. Rule number 3 is about the memory of strength. Think about the people you respect most in your life. Are they people who begged for things, or are they people who were willing to walk away when the deal was bad? We respect people who have boundaries. When you accept a clean breakup, you are setting a boundary for yourself. You are saying, I do not stay where I am not wanted. This leaves a strong memory in the mind of the woman. Years later, she will think of you as the man who had the strength to let go. But if you beg, she will only remember you as the man who was easy to break. Your future relationships depend on the strength you build today. Let's look at a positive story about a man named Marcus. Marcus was in a long relationship with a woman named Maria. Maria told him she needed space and wasn't sure about them anymore. Marcus felt the pain in his chest and he wanted to beg her to stay. But Marcus decided to use logic instead of emotion. He said, Maria, I love you and I wanted a future with you, but I only want to be with someone who is 100% sure about me. If you are not sure, then we should end this completely today. He didn't text her, he didn't check her social media, he made a clean break. The positive outcome for Marcus was rapid personal growth. Because he didn't spend months begging, he had the energy to focus on his career. He started a small business that he had been dreaming about for years. He went to the gym and got in the best shape of his life. 3 months later, he felt like a new man. Maria actually called him because she missed his strength. But by then, Marcus realized he deserved someone who didn't need space to know his value. He learned that a clean break is like a fast-acting medicine. It tastes bitter at first, but it makes you healthy very quickly. Does the idea of a clean break scare you because you are afraid of being alone? In psychology, the fear of loneliness is what keeps men in bad marriages. But being alone is just a season of your life. It is not the whole story. Tell us in the comments, how did you survive your first month after a breakup? What did you do to keep your mind off the person who left? Rule number 4 is protecting the children. Many men say they stay in a bad, begged marriage for the kids, but children are like sponges. They soak up the energy in the house. If they see a father who is begging, a father who is disrespected, and a mother who is cold, they learn that this is what love looks like. You are teaching your sons to be beggars and your daughters to lose respect for men. A clean breakup and a healthy co-parenting life is 100 times better for a child's psychology than living in a house full of silent wars and fake smiles. By choosing a clean break, you are showing your children what self-respect looks like in real life. We must also talk about the sunk cost fallacy. This is a fancy way of saying that we stay in something bad just because we've already spent a lot of time or money on it. You might think, I've been with her for 10 years, I can't give up now. But the last 10 years are already gone. You cannot get them back. The only thing you can control is the next 10 years. Do you want the next 10 years to be a repeat of the last 3 years of begging? Or do you want them to be a fresh start? A man of value knows when to cut his losses. He doesn't throw good years after bad years. To find your way back to strength, you must understand the 5th reason for a clean break, the chemistry of healing. When you are in a relationship where you are constantly begging, your body is full of a stress hormone called cortisol. This hormone makes you feel tired, anxious, and unable to think clearly. It keeps you in a survival mode where you only care about not being alone. But when you make a clean break, you allow your body to reset. Once the initial shock is over, your brain can start to produce dopamine and serotonin again from your own achievements. You move from surviving to thriving. Most people watch to be entertained. You're likely here to be informed. This channel is a space for those who hold themselves to a higher standard of logic. If that resonates, subscribe and join a community that values deep psychology over cheap drama. I want to see your perspective in the comments. This is a place for data and dialogue, not judgment. If you're ready for the truth, stay tuned. The 6th reason to choose a clean break is the mirror effect. In psychology, people often treat us the way we treat ourselves. If you treat yourself like a beggar's, others will treat you like one. If you allow someone to disrespect your boundaries because you are afraid they will leave, you are giving them a map on how to hurt you. By making a clean break, you are looking in the mirror and saying, "I am worth more than a half-hearted love." This changes your vibration. When you walk into the world with self-respect, you naturally attract people who will respect you. Many men fear that if they walk away, they will never find love again. This is a psychological trick called the scarcity mindset. You think this one person is the only source of happiness in the world. But the world is huge. There are billions of people. A clean break is not an end, it is a filter. It removes the person who is taking up space in your heart so that the right person can eventually fit there. If your hands are full of a begged marriage, you have no hands free to catch a real partnership. Have you ever looked back at an old relationship and wondered, what was I thinking? That is what happens when the fog of the scarcity mindset lifts. Tell us in the comments, how long did it take for you to realize that you were better off with the person you used to beg for? Let's continue the story of Marcus. After his clean break with Maria, Marcus had moments where he felt very lonely. One night, he almost sent her a text saying, "I miss you," but instead, he called his brother. He told his brother, "I want to text her." His brother said, "Marcus, remember why you left. You left because you want to be a priority, not an option." Marcus put his phone away and went for a run. The positive outcome for Marcus was emotional sovereignty. This means he became the king of his own feelings. He realized that the urge to text was just a temporary feeling, not a command he had to follow. Because he stayed strong and kept the break clean, his mind stayed sharp. A year later, he met a woman named Sarah who admired his focus and his strength. Because Marcus had learned to be okay alone, he didn't need to beg Sarah for anything. They built a relationship based on want, not need. Marcus learned that the pain of a clean break is the price of admission to a great life. The seventh reason is the preservation of the past. When you beg and stay in a marriage that is dying, you end up hating each other. You turn the good memories into bad ones because the end was so ugly. But when you make a clean break, you freeze the good memories. You can look back and say, "We had a good time for 5 years, but it stopped working, so we moved on." This is much healthier for your mind. It allows you to move forward without bitterness. Bitterness is a weight that slows you down. A clean break is a light heart. Finally, understand the law of the void. In nature, a void, or an empty space, must be filled. When you make a clean break, you create an empty space in your life. At first, that space feels like loneliness, but if you stay strong, that space will eventually be filled with your mission. You will find a new passion, a new business, or a new group of friends. A man who is busy with his mission is the most attractive version of a man. He doesn't have time to beg, and because he doesn't beg, the world gives him what he wants. You are not a beggar. You are a man of character and strength. If the house you built is on fire, do not stay inside trying to save the curtains. Walk out, breathe the fresh air, and start building a new house on stronger ground. Your future self is waiting for you there, and he is proud of the choice you made today. Staying until the end isn't just about finishing a video. It's about refusing to look away from the truth. I appreciate you being here for the full conversation. It shows you're ready to apply what you learn rather than just hearing it. Subscribe to lock in this standard for yourself. We're building a community where boundaries and self-respect are the baseline, not the exception. Share your thoughts in the comments. I'm looking forward to reading your take. Keep challenging the narrative. I'll see you in the next one.